Today, what I wanted to talk about was this idea of cultivating creativity. And if you really think about it, creativity is it kind of gets this. There's some weird things about creativity, or some misunderstandings, or some commonly accepted myths, I guess, if you want to think about it that way. Think about it like that. But creativity is something that artists do have. We know this, but it is really important for us to understand that we have to cultivate it a little bit. We have to work on it a little bit. It's not just this thing that sort of just kind of falls on us all the time. And if you remember studying this in school, or in history class, or especially for ancient world history, the Greeks believed in this idea of the muse, and that was, there would be these certain gods that would imbue you with inspiration, and your ideas would sort of come down from the gods, and as if people didn't just use their brains to like think up things, and have experiences, and then have thought patterns that developed out of their experiences, and those different types of things. And so it's important for us to realize that, it really is important for us to realize that creativity, it is real, and our brains are, artists generally have a brain that's wired for creativity. We are often thinking about things in ways that lots of other people don't. Okay, if you've ever had conversations with someone who's not a painter, and as an artist, we're a lot more observant, and we might be talking to somebody about the colors of this, that, or the other, or a texture, and other people, will kind of look at you like, I don't, I don't know what you're talking about. It's just, I don't think about things like that. And so it's funny or interesting, when you have conversations with people who aren't kind of operating in a place of creativity. It's odd, for someone like me, for someone like you, you are creative, and your brain just kind of works that way. You see colors differently. You pay attention to those things. You see details differently, textures, and shadows and lights, and all these different things. You just innately kind of stand out to you. You just pick up on it because you're very observant. And for a lot of people, they never pay attention to that. They never look up. They never look at bark on a tree. They never pay attention to even birds singing. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know really what they're doing, but they're not really taking in all of this information the way creative people do. Okay, and so it's important for us as creative people, as artists, to realize that we think this way, and that we think differently than most people. Than just kind of the average person who's not interested in creative things, not interested in art. And to really hone in on that, sharpen that, cultivate that. And so this is kind of what it looks like. Even though we're creative, we can kind of find ourselves sometimes like in this lull of like, well, I just don't know what to paint, or I don't know, I'm just not feeling like I want to paint, or I'm not really wanting to draw anything, or that type of thing. We all kind of go through seasons like that. I do too. We all do. It's just real, especially if I'm tired, or if I've got some kind of, I know when we're working on the bus right now, and I have to work really hard because we're really busy with that, and it's like a lot of physical work, and so we're getting tired, often, and I will think I just don't feel like painting. I just don't feel like, even working on anything. I don't even really, I'm not feeling inspired. Okay, we hear that even in our own head. We hear other people talk about it, not feeling inspired. And so that idea of inspiration, that's the part that we really have to work on. And sure, we're going to have some down times where we are tired, or we've got other things going on where we just really can't fit it in. But cultivating that inspiration, we can't just wait for it to just sort of come from somewhere. We know it's kind of our responsibility as creative people to do that. So it's really kind of simple though. As an artist, everybody has their own unique imagery and feeling and different, different set of ideas and paradigms that have you creating in the first place. Okay, and I want you to kind of begin taking a look at that if that's not something that you're doing already. We've kind of talked about it earlier about think about the reasons why you're making art. What is it that's compelling you to do it in the first place? Why am I doing it? What are the ideas or that I'm attracted to? What imagery am I attracted to? What's really the driving force? Because I'm telling you, if you can start to really get a hold of those things and identify them and be able to describe them, in your own words, it really does make a huge impact on your ability to tune in even greater, and it will positively affect your work. Okay, so in the process of doing that, when you start thinking about why you're making work and why you want to make work, I want you to begin to realize that you've got the ability to influence yourself, inspire yourself, okay? And you do that by spending time doing what I have called, or what I call, and what I've heard others call, sort of filling your creative well, okay? So, we do have a relationship with our ability to create. It is like a relationship, and if we don't spend time with that relationship, it can kind of get weak and distant, and it's not really that strong and active. So it's important for us to fill our creative well, and that means adding ideas to our list of things to do mentally. And one of the best ways to do that is to do things, go places, experience things, whatever it is that really just lights your fire, things that are inspiring to you. For instance, in my case, I love being outside. So going to the lake or going camping or going hiking or, something along those lines, that's very inspiring to me. That is a way that I feel my creative well, because when I'm out there, I'm seeing things, I'm responding to things, I'm having experiences as I'm out there. That all work is like fuel to start ushering in imagery, okay, that I later want to see appear in my paintings. We've all had the experience of seeing something beautiful and thinking, I want to paint that. That's what it is, okay? That is filling your creative well. So don't wait to see something beautiful, so that you can be inspired by it. Actively go out and look for things that are going to inspire you, so that you've kind of got this warehouse being continually filled, like a well that's being continually filled with different things that are going to sort of light you up. All right, so an experience that I've had, even just, going outside and doing those things are really important to me. I also like going to museums, okay? I know some of them over the past year, it's been kind of weird for getting into museums and that type of thing, but it's starting to, you can get in them now. And they've got maybe some restrictions for masks or whatever the case might be, but going and looking at other really amazing art is very inspiring to me. I love to walk right up to paintings, as closely as I can get, because I love to study the brushwork. I love to kind of guess maybe what colors they might have mixed to get the color that I'm seeing. I love to see how they handled certain landscape features. How did they handle light, reflecting off of water, so you can kind of glean these things. The more you paint yourself, then as you look at other painters' work, you start to fill in the blanks a little bit, and you're like, oh, okay, I see how they did that. That's a really good idea, whatever the case may be. That's very inspiring to me. Just getting together with other people and talking about art is really inspiring too, So there are lots of things that you can do that really can just cultivate that sense of inspiration, that sense of creativity that's in you, and it really is our responsibility to do that. We have to take time to do that. Here's a really good thing about doing it. as we take time to do it, you may think, oh, now I got to take more time to do another thing. But as you take time to do it and you really start to cultivate that, the excitement and the sort of momentum that you start to experience mentally, emotionally, because of your inspiration, your state of inspiredness, okay, really fuels you to carve out time to go make that painting that you really want to make, that thing that's really standing out to you, okay? So it's really important for us to do that and just see that it's important to do. It seems small, but it really is helpful, okay? We use this kind of thing in life all the time. If you're the one who prepares meals at your home, you already know that it's best to, as soon as you get up, put the meat out to thaw, get things lined up, whatever it is that you need to do, so that when it is time to begin to put that meal together, you've already got the momentum going, and there's everything. It's ready to go, and you feel more willing, more, the momentum is there for you to just jump into that and to just do it, because it's all ready for you. And so the same thing is true with our artwork. When we have spent time thinking about investing things into ourselves to get up that inspiration, that encouragement for the imagery that we want to work with, gosh, it makes it so much easier then, because then we've got all the stuff that we're ready to do. We're excited about it. So definitely spend time cultivating that creativity. Spend time doing that. I'll mention a couple of other things. In that book that I mentioned last week, Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way, she talks about this same type of thing. She is talking about cultivating creativity, but she gives you a very point blank activity to do, and she calls it an artist's date. And that means having a date with yourself. Do something for yourself, by yourself, that is going to cultivate that sense of inspiration for you, whether it's go to visit a museum, go outside and draw and paint, or look at, spend time, if this is what you like to do. I know people who will go and, block off 45 minutes to an hour to just go look at very specific things on Pinterest to just kind of get the juices going, and just think about things that they want to do. There's so many things. It's really whatever makes sense to you, okay? And so as we start looking at this, though, I do want you to think about the way that you work creatively, the things that do inspire you. Kind of look at yourself and think, do I really do things to cultivate my creativity, or am I just sort of, just kind of waiting for something to kind of come along and strike my fancy, and then I'll take action and get out some art supplies. Think about which one you're doing, or maybe it's somewhere in between. If you're not journaling, it's not something that you absolutely have to do, but it is really helpful in just sort of getting your thoughts out. Julia Cameron talks about this too, she calls it daily pages, or morning pages, I should say. And she just spends time every day just sitting down and writing about her creative process, and in the process of doing that, she may wind up writing about things that are just going on in her life or whatever. But all these things are really woven together. But the idea is to kind of really start being really intentional and thinking about the way you are inspired, the way that you have ideas come to you, the way that it starts working for you, and just spend time doing that. And the journal prompt that I shared was, I can't remember the exact question, but it was basically to, think about the first time you remember, that you can recall, even if it's all the way back to childhood or whatever. Can you recall and describe the first instance where you remember feeling inspired to create art? Okay, it's a really fun exercise to do, and I'll share real quickly with you what mine is. And I've actually got the actual drawing that I did when I was 6 years old. I'm going to show that to you. So I was about 6 years old, 5 or 6, somewhere in that age, and I remember there were lots of things I was excited about. I was already, big with being outside. I loved outdoors. We also had horses at the time, and I was too small to ride any of them. These were they were big quarter horses, and my dad wouldn't let me ride them. But we had a pasture and a barn and all this kind of stuff, and I just, I've been crazy about horses, uh, all the years that I was a kid, and I remember just I was so in just I had been, my creative well was getting full from just my surroundings, that one day I remember just I was absolutely compelled to somehow, I couldn't even put words to it, but I know now that I needed to express my excitement, my enthusiasm, my inspired state of mind at all the things I was experiencing in my life. And I remember that I grabbed a sheet of paper, and I had never been really taught anything about drawing. I don't think I even knew what artists were, or that people did draw things. I don't think I really, I mean, I had coloring books, but I don't know that that it even occurred to me that somebody somewhere created those. But I just knew that I wanted to just create an image as the only thing that I knew that I could do. And I grabbed a sheet of notebook paper, and at the time we had a Sears and Roebuck catalog. Okay, so this has been a while, and we had the Western edition. Okay, so it had, men's and women's, boys and girls Western wear. You could look at saddles and bridles and all kinds of tack, boots galore. Oh my gosh, just all the things. And so I was just flipping through that catalog. I mean, it was just, I didn't want a wish book. I wanted that Western catalog. And I looked at everything that was in there, and I remember just thinking, I want to make a picture that looks like some of these pictures. And so I drew a cowboy based off of a model that was in the catalog wearing his, cowboy stuff. But as I was drawing it, I thought, I want this to be more than just a picture of, of just a cowboy standing there like in a catalog. I wanted like a scene with, I wanted it to be outside. I wanted birds, I mean, just all this stuff. So you can just feel the energy in my mind. This was like the most exciting thing that I could remember having, and I thought, I have got to create this image. Okay, and so I did. I'm going to show this to you. So I created this image, or this little drawing, and let's see if I can get it up there. All right, so I want you to look at this little drawing. All right, so this thing, you can see how old it is. It's like stained. My mother still has this. This drawing, I remember after I drew it, and you can see just even by looking at it, this drawing in no way encapsulated the level of intense enthusiasm that I was experiencing. And when I drew it, I realized that thing too. I realized that this doesn't look as good as how I feel. And I remember thinking that same thing. And instead of getting, well, I guess I might have been a little bit discouraged, but I can remember, my parents, encouraged me, and they liked it. And I had never drawn anything like that before. And so they realized that something must be going on for me to really be that excited about doing a drawing. And so after I did the drawing, I remember telling my mother, because she made a big deal about it, and praised me and told me that it was really good and all that sort of thing. But I remember being kind of disappointed with it, and I thought, it's not good enough. It does not match what I'm feeling. I'm way more excited than this drawing looks, is kind of how I felt in my mind as a kid. But after I was kind of discouraged about it a little bit, I was actually started thinking about, well, I could just keep doing this. I could do another one. I could just keep doing this and getting better, because I really, for the first time, felt compelled to start making imagery that matched my feelings. Whenever I would feel some kind of excitement, I wanted to really just try to, capture that in some kind of image, some kind of painting or drawing, mostly drawing in the beginning. But I remember just being able to kind of fight through that discouragement a little bit and just, and keep going and keep going. And so then I did. I continued to draw for many, many years and got into painting, and the rest is history, and here I am now. But I remember that was my first real sense of coming to some kind of realization, that I had to make an image. I had to do a drawing. I had to make art, even though I didn't even know what it was or why it was happening. I just knew that I had to do that. So, anyway, that's my little story to share with you about, when I first started making art many, many years ago. I think that drawing was done in like 1974. Okay, so it's been a little while. And thankfully, I have stayed with it all these years, and I have gotten better. I have improved, and I hope to continue improving onward. That's kind of the thing, to make this. It is my lifestyle. So share with me, or at least even for yourself, really sit down and think about what it was. And for some of you, you might not have even been working with art or had been exposed to it until maybe you were an adult. Okay, that happens a lot for people. For whatever reason, it just happened to me very young, even without any knowledge or anybody in my family that, I had no exposure to somebody drawing or painting, and somehow or other I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. So it's really kind of miraculous in a way, and so I'm just grateful that it happened and is still happening. But I would love to hear what you guys have got to say about that. I love to hear everybody's first, sort of initiation into being creative, because there, whatever that is, especially that first time, there's really something special there. So spend some time thinking about that over the next few days, and write it down. Spend some time looking at that and thinking about it, and start there. Kind of bring a story together of what you recall about your first, recollection with being creative, and then start thinking about things that you know that you could do now to begin inspiring yourself to start filling that, that creative well. Okay, so that you've constantly got something that's spurring you and keeping you excited and keeping you motivated, because it really is important to do that. All right.